when we came upon this idea of this peace room, and I realized it's not just a room, as beautiful as this room is, and as much as this room and what's on the other side of the wall, all the people who are right now dedicated to all the technology that makes this possible, that it is a physical place, and that's a beautiful blessing for us to have. But it's also, I started to realize it's also a kind of platform for that we could really give focus to a very embodied form of teaching. You know, I think there's the teaching of awakening, the teaching of having deep existential breakthroughs and insights into existence, or depending how you think of this, you could think of it into deeper experiences of God, if you will, or life. But then there's also the other side, that the peace room is really it's a living and concrete manifestation of a commitment that we both have. And I think me and Mukti share this commitment really very deeply. It's very meaningful to us that spirituality is about awakening. It is about insight. It is about connection with the reality of the unity of all things. But it's also about living that. It's also about the challenge and the adventure of bringing that forth into our lives more. In modern terminology, I guess you could say integrating it. But to me, even that's not a big enough word, because it's something that goes beyond us personally. There is an integration of what we realize into more of our humanity, our bodies, our minds, our personalities. But also it transcends us. It's about how we interact with all of life and bringing the more enlightened way of being into the world. Not in a sense of trying to be perfect, because this is part of the paradox of our own realization. Some of you have probably bumped into this yourself, that when we come into a realization of our true nature, we touch upon that amazing discovery, almost unbelievable when it first dawns on you, that in the sort of the fundamental ground of our being is beyond all conditioning. It's pure, and in a certain sense, there's a kind of perfection to it. It's formless and pure and without conditioning, and that's the beauty of the essence of our being. And also, no matter how deeply we realize that, we also have a human part of our experience, a body and a mind and personality structure. And the human element, I think, as we all come to see and we all come to experience, all human forms have their imperfections, their ways of being conditioned, and they have almost this endless capacity, potentiality to more and more clearly reflect the ground of our being, that place of profound wisdom and love and joy. And so I've always felt in my experience that we are living manifestations of this beautiful paradox of perfection and imperfection. And so often in spirituality, I think there's a conflict between these two dimensions of being, but part of the teachings that we want to bring forward are ways to bring those two dimensions of our experience together, not only for our own sake, but for the sake of the world as well. So in this platform of the Peace Room, this is one of these are some of the things we want to bring forward. We want to explore the whole dimension of meaning, because that's such an important part of any human being's life. When we experience our true nature, we actually experience something that's even beyond meaning. And yet, as human beings, meaning orients our lives. It gives us our direction. And I think the deepest experience of being, certainly the enlightened view, shows us that each thing and each being is of infinite value. Speaking in a more theistic language, it's the realization that each thing and each being is a manifestation of God, of the divine. And when we really see this, not as an idea, just a concept, but as we really experience that, it's a way of falling in love with the world, with all of its imperfections, with all of its chaos, with all of its incredible challenge, even tragedy. It's a way of seeing something deeper in the very nature of existence itself. And so I think I see this as a platform that's dedicated to teachings about how to embody what we realize and how to bring forth what we realize more and more into our lives, and how to do this not just for a self-oriented reason, but also how to connect with something that transcends ourselves, those deepest sort of values of being, of clarity and truth and love and compassion. These deep values are literally come from the ground of being themselves. And this platform is a way for us to really focus in, and that's what the Peace Room is about.
As you were talking, this phrase came to my mind, center of one's regard. And there's a way that we might even feel what is meaningful to us in a tangible, energetic way in our bodies, in our hearts, or in our core. Just some way that things that are deeply valuable and meaning to us resonate on an energetic level. And so this could be just a wonderful contemplation that relates very directly to peace. Is how might I orient in my life to a sense of what I regard as meaningful and also precious, that which is very precious to me. And that can begin with ourselves, having a sense of ourself being, as Adi was saying, very valuable, like beyond what we may even realize. The sense of our own preciousness and an attunement to how to open to the beauty of our own being, and also the wisdom of that resonance, and to grow, as I was saying earlier, growing this space for peace, but growing our awareness such that sense of regard, meaning, preciousness extends, so that our center is not just here in our core, but our center is our life, is our sphere of influence, is our community, is our, what I sometimes call, our universal body. The body that Spirit recognizes in awakening, not only as this one, as our incarnation, which is extremely precious, but also, as some have said poetically, as the 10,000 things. This notion of regard and value is something that we may sometimes feel that it captures our attention with respect to our exterior world or our values and principles in relating externally, but it can begin with, how we relate to ourselves internally. And one of my focuses when I consider this Peace Room platform is going to really be to help those who are listening and joining in the offerings that I'm speaking during broadcasts for, into a sense of attunement to what is valuable. So into journeys into a greater consciousness of direct experience, knowledge through our being of what is important, and how to recognize that, and how to nurture that and bring it forward, and sense what is already present that may be kind of off the radar, but how to bring it into attunement, and how to grow that in our being in a way where it might fill us and then spill over into our lives and perfume our relating, perfume our transmission in the world.